All right, India Today Shruti Narula speaks to Hollywood superstar Ryan Reynolds ahead of the release of his new film, Red Notice. The action movie here is star-studded with Dwayne Johnson and Gal Gadot. He spoke about Hollywood taking inspiration from Bollywood. Let's take a listen.
First up, a very big congratulations on Red Notice. How excited are you about this film now? What was it that excited you the most about this movie?
I love a treasure hunt, and this movie is a treasure hunt. I mean, it's obviously an action adventure comedy, but it's the main conceit is that we're all after this very, particularly amazing treasure, Cleopatra's eggs. And since I was a little kid, I always loved a treasure hunt. That's always why, I think it's why I loved Indiana Jones movies and those sorts of things. But the big attraction for the movie, at least for me, was working with my friends. I've been friends with Dwayne Johnson for 20 plus years and golf for 10 years. And so there's a real shorthand that we have and a real camaraderie that's already built in that was so much fun to play with. So that was a real attraction for me.
And what about the script? How did the script and the character that you're playing attracted you? You're playing an art thief, but what you really are a heart thief. I would like to say that because you've been stealing hearts all around the world.
Well, I love a rascal, and Nolan Booth is a bit of a rascal and a scamp and a guy that can't be trusted, and I love somebody who you never know if he's playing you or not. So that's always a fun thing to play, and really in this movie you can't actually trust anyone, and I always find movies like that to be provocative and fun.
Anything that happened on set that you'd like to share with viewers, something that's interesting, something that was really out of the box that you'd like to recall?
Gosh, I don't know. It was a challenging shoot, obviously, because everyone was shooting, all over the world. Everyone was dealing with a pandemic. So that was a very difficult way to shoot the movie. Mm-hmm. But, we were able to craft a pretty fantastic adventure despite the many challenges that presented. I handed it to Netflix. My hat's off to them. They were amazing at finding ways to make it all work and allowing us to safely continue shooting the film.
So how different is it when you're shooting post the pandemic world after you're all jabbed compared to the pre-pandemic world that you used to shoot?
You can't even compare.
I'd love to get an insight from you.
No, well, it's for us, it doesn't change much in terms of the on-set dynamic. I mean, for Dwayne and Gal and myself, we're all still looking at each other, but suddenly we're disconnected from the crew. The crew are all wearing masks and shields, and you don't, so much of what I love about the film industry is the connection I have to the crew that I work with. I like to connect with the camera operators and the grips and the assistants and the craft service person and all those people that work so hard to make movies a reality, and so some of that connection was definitely cut off. So that was a challenge, but it was nice to have Dwayne and Gal who we really trust each other and love each other. We genuinely love each other, so we all had each other's backs and managed to make a go of it.
You recently mentioned that Hollywood is mimicking Bollywood. I read that somewhere in one of your interviews. Why do you say that? Could you give us some examples?
It's a little tongue-in-cheek. What I meant was I did a film called Free Guy that I produced and was one of the writers on, and I starred in it, obviously. And it was just the movie, we really looked at Bollywood films and how each Bollywood film, at least many Bollywood films, are infused with a kind of joy that you don't always see in Hollywood. And I wanted some of that joy for Free Guy. So we were looking at a lot of different places, but one of them I was inspired by Bollywood. Some of the Bollywood films that I've been lucky enough to see and over the years, and I right now is that moment where you're trying to think. I'm trying to think what is the name of the one that I love the most, but which I'm blanking on. But some of the films that I've seen over the years from Bollywood, they've really embraced joy, and I wanted that in Free Guy. Free Guy was meant to be kind of an antidote to some of the times that we were experiencing. So it was a bit of a tongue in cheek. It wasn't meant to be literal. It wasn't literally.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Do you want to tell people why they should go and watch Red Notice and what is the reason why it is so special? A little bit about what is in it for the viewers.
Oh, the viewers.
Without, of course, giving away any kind of the plot, of course.
Yeah, no, I won't give away any of the spoilers, but it's a real adventure. I mean, I think right now it's the last couple of years have not been easy for anyone. I don't care where you're from or what you do. It's just hasn't been easy for anyone. So, now more than ever, I think joy is important. And I think, allowing ourselves to really be swept away in something that is just lovely is a kind of self-care in a way, and for me, movies have always represented that. They've always been an escape. And I've always felt transported by them. And I think that's what Red Notice will do. Red Notice is a action adventure comedy, but there's a bit of a mystery there as well. And I think people just want to get on a roller coaster and have a really good time for, 95 minutes. And that's what this film delivers.
I also want to ask you about the charitable side that you have to you during the course of the pandemic. You've done such amazing work. What is it about giving it back to the community that made you tick? I've kind of, I don't know if it's an old school sort of attitude, but I've always felt like I can't really enjoy what I have unless I can share it, and that's something my wife, or an idea that my wife also espouses. And we both feel like it's hard to kind of enjoy the good luck and good fortune that we've had when others can't. So we try to share it as much as possible. We try to share wealth, share power, step aside where necessary to create, diversity and inclusion in the industries that we work in. And, that's always been important to us, and that always will be important to us. It's amazing that you do that. Lastly, before we wind up, you've spoken about your lifelong battle with anxiety as well. If you could just give out a message to the viewers in terms of how you can be right there. You can be Ryan Reynolds and still suffer anxiety and still beat it and still be a highly functional human being. It'll help a lot of people.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, there's so many people, function and overfunction with a variety of mental health issues that they may or may not struggle with. So, for me, I've had anxiety my whole life. My anxiety may look different than someone else's anxiety, but it's always been something I've battled, and I found the more I'm open about it and the more I look at it, the less alone I feel in it. And I think that when you feel alone, that is the root of all suffering. So I think when you can sort of look at something and think, oh, someone else feels similarly to how I feel, suddenly that load is a little bit lighter. And I think that's sort of why I feel comfortable talking about it. If you asked me 10 years ago, I never would have spoken about it. But now I think it's we live in a different world, and if I can share that and help one person, amazing. If I can help 10,000 people, even better. So,
yes, absolutely. And all the best with Red Notice. Thank you so much for joining us on India Today and having this exclusive conversation. All the best for the film.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.